Morning, everyone.
Sophia, are you online? Sophia, or anybody from procurement services? Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. Committee members and other parties of interest. This is the evaluation committee meeting for RPS 23-24300, Transportation Design General Engineering Services. Will be held by means of communications media technology. Active participation will be for committee members only. Provisions have been made for any member of the public desiring to have access to view the meeting. The online internet and live stream will also be available via recording after the meeting has ended. Please be advised that the cone of silence is still in effect. All meetings and correspondence must include me. My name is Jacinta J.C. Pinckney, and I am the Senior Procurement Analyst for this project. For the record, this meeting is being recorded and has been publicly noticed. At this time, I will ask each committee member to introduce themselves for the record, beginning with the committee chair, Amanda Sotomayor.
Amanda Sotomayor, Hillsborough County Capital Programs Design Project Management Supervisor.
Sarah Caper, Hillsborough County Community and Infrastructure Planning Department, Executive Planner.
Bianca Hatton, Hillsborough County Public Works Business Operations Community Relations Coordinator.
Okay, the evaluation committee chair, Amanda, will lead the discussion for the scoring. After each category is discussed, please state the final consensus scoring agreed upon so that I may record it in the scoring spreadsheet. After the conclusion of the scoring, I will verify the scores with the committee and provide the final presentation ranking. Amanda, I will turn this over to you now.
Okay, so we go one by one, right? Each category. That's fine, but right. I guess we'll start with ACOM. First section was ability of firm and its professional personnel. Does anybody want to start?
You can start.
Well, they included multiple survey subs, SU subs, multiple geotech subs, which I believe was good. We have a good project team put together. But let me see. My notes. This included extra services additional to what was in the scope. You guys have any comments to add?
Hold on one second. I need all participants to mute their line, please. Please mute. Thank you.
I agree. I thought that they had an extensive list of staff and disciplines. One thing that struck me, and I wanted to check with Amanda in the org chart, they have Hillsborough County Public Works Department Technical Services Division. Is that the division that will be overseeing it?
No.
No, so that struck me, it's kind of what I thought. And somewhere it referred to the TD&D contract, which is the old name, I think it's TD&G. And in one of the resumes, they had the wrong title, so it took me a second to just connect the right title with the person. Cause I looked through it, I was like, this isn't what they're doing. But overall, I thought that it very extensive, and they provided examples of their experience with the people.
So I like that there was a clear mention of the scope in each section, meeting the scope requirements and the supplemental services that they offer that were additional, so.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, speaking of TDD, they did mention there had been 7 years in a TDD contract, which TDD was the old contract. Current one is TDG. So, do you wanna go ahead and do scoring on this one? I got a 20.
I had about a 20 as well.
I have a 24.
So, do we wanna do 22?
Sure.
So ability of firm and its professional personnel for ACOM 22 is a consensus.
Yes.
Okay.
Next category is firm's experience with projects of similar type and size. I think they had a good mix of projects. It did have some missing information that was requested in the evaluation criteria, such as cost and approach and methods used. They didn't include any challenges or innovative approaches. To me, it seemed like some of the project end dates were not correct. They included some of the master agreements, I guess they're working with other counties, but they didn't really list some of the projects that were done under the contract. What's the next?
Okay. I felt like they were also missing, kind of the methods, challenges, innovations, and being light on the approach. There were a couple of the examples where I saw pieces of that, but overall it was missing some of those elements that I was really looking for. I also saw some typos in some of them, which is always something that,
Had that noted.
yeah, but I did think that they showed some examples of continuing services contracts, like different types of mixed projects, feasibility, PE design. My overall thoughts.
If I'm not mistaken, I think there's a project controls example in here, and I thought that was.
Yeah, I saw that. That was kind of off, I guess.
It was, but I kind of liked it. I thought that it showed a breadth of the services that they offer, so I thought it was.
Guess we sometimes ask for additional services.
Yeah.
Listed.
All right, sorry about that, guys. Little glitch. Can you repeat the last 20 seconds, please?
Scoring.
Scoring,
Yes.
I gave them a 24.
I gave them an 18.
And I had them at 20.
I'm okay moving up.
20.
I'm okay with 20.
Okay.
Okay, so for ACOM, number 2, firms experience with projects of similar type and size. The consensus was a 20.
Yes. Next category, firm's willingness, ability to meet schedule and budget requirements. Someone else want to start on this one? I start all the time.
I did not see a mention of cost savings, like ways to reduce costs, and I was surprised on that, so.
Agree, I had that noted here too. No mention of ways to reduce budget costs or accelerate the projects.
Yeah, they had a little section on schedule control and budget control. But it wasn't very detailed.
Yeah, and I felt like your schedule and budget control is a part of the services of managing a budget and schedule, but what do you do above and beyond to help reduce costs?
I was a little confused by, you have a single point of contact with the PM, but after request, it could be a task lead. To me, that just seemed like an opportunity for a little bit of confusion. I appreciate trying to be flexible, but
Yeah, I had that noted as well, because it can be kind of confusing on who you need to communicate with. We have multiple people.
Yeah.
So I had a 15 for this one.
I had a 16.
15.
15 it is.
16 and a 15. And the consensus is a 15.
Yes.
Okay, so number 3, for ACOM, firms' willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements, 15 out of 20. Okay. Next one, effect of firm's recent, current, and projected workload.
Sure. I thought, well, the PM was available 50%. And then they list the percent availability pretty clearly for some of the key team members. I thought it was a little unclear when they listed all of their active projects who was working on them, so it made me more confused to see that, just uncertain, I guess, maybe the best word. But then the page after that had a little bit more availability, but it did feel a little repetitive with how they put it together. The task leaders are grouped together, but then there's individual people and you have to try to group it, so. I think they had the right information, it was just displayed in a way that took a little bit.
I agree with you. It was so confusing to me that it didn't look like they had much availability. I was a little bit confused on the presentation. So.
They included all key members, and they also included the subs here.
Yes, that's good.
But yeah, this chart, I wasn't sure if the lines were showing the availability or their workload. So it was a bit confusing. So, what do you guys have?
I gave them an 11.
I gave them a 13.
I had a 13 also.
I'm okay with 13.
13?
It's fine.
Okay, so 13 out of 15 for effective firm's recent, current, and projected workload.
Yes.
Okay. For number 5, effect of project team location, and this is only scored by the chairperson.
Okay, so all the prime key members and subs were within the Tampa Bay Regional Partnership area, so I gave them 5.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the next firm, AIM Engineering and Surveying Incorporated. Do y'all have any pros, cons, or any notes?
AIM. I like that they also included multiple in-house services, including surveys too. They did mention TTM manual as one of the design manuals, and we do not use TTM. That's for developer use. I feel like a lot of information here was also kind of covering category 3.
Yes.
So,
So I have a question about that actually. So if the information covers a different category, do you count it towards that category? Or does it have to remain in that one section?
let's see. Criteria.
So you're saying
So,
subject
just need to indicate,
is not in the right place.
Yeah.
say, well, besides going over the key members, they should indicate that the team has a clear understanding of the county's project and requirements.
Okay.
I was okay with it kind of being, because I think you could make the case that it talks about their role and responsibility, because some of them have roles that relate to meeting schedule budget, but it wasn't.
Okay.
I guess I saw it as it's okay to say it in 2 places.
2 places, yeah. Okay.
Rather than,
All right.
I think it was good information.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
It's redundant, I guess, when you get to section 3.
do you have more?
I don't.
I was gonna say with this one, I would have liked to see a little bit more breadth of the ability of the firm. I was looking for, where do they talk about PERs or some of the other services? I felt like it was, they didn't have to do necessarily everything, because it's a wide range of services. But I thought with the firm and with their team, which is very extensive, I would have liked to see more about PER, maybe mentioning of some of the other services. They talked about PD&E, but really almost exclusively from the engineering part of a PD&E, which I know is part of it, but then there are other people who play a key role in PD&E that outreach, scientists, there's other pieces of PD&E that to me were missing. It really focused on just the one piece of it.
I agree with you.
Y'all ready to score?
I gave them 17.
And 18.
I had a 24.
You're very generous.
You are.
The criteria is very cut and paste, like it's very, how do I say this? Like it's very detailed in what it's looking for, and I felt like it matched that, but it didn't exceed that information. And so that's why I gave it a 24.
Okay. Oh, go ahead, I'm
I
sorry.
would say I put it in the 13 to 18 category because I wasn't sure that they adequately, I think they had an adequate understanding of it, but I didn't think it was above average understanding. That's where I put it in the category. But
That's fair, that's fair.
that was just mine.
Do you agree with 18?
I do, yeah.
So 18 for criteria number 1 for AIM. Okay. Criteria number 2, firms experience with projects of similar type and size.
So I only saw 5 instead of 10. Sorry, it takes me a while to scroll to that section. Okay. Still working on it, all the way down.
And it did say they could maximum of 10. Right?
It said a maximum of 10. And that I only saw 5, and so it's like, okay. But the examples were within the 5-year time frame. And for me, I found that they were spot on with the services. So
Would have liked to see maybe a few more projects in there.
Yeah, I would have liked to see it as well.
Where's some typos? They included the cost only in one of the projects I noted here. Overall, I think they had a good overview of the work done. And the projects they did include, they were all relevant.
They were, I would have liked to see maybe a little more examples of them leading the full PD. A lot of them looked like pieces to me of them, and like no PR examples. A lot of them were in District 1. I liked how they had examples of continuing services contracts, and I would have liked to see a little bit more highlights of innovations. I think if they had more examples, we would have maybe been able to see more of that.
I had given them a 15.
16.
I'm good with a 15.
15. 15 it is.
So 15 for the consensus, for AMI, I'm sorry, for AIM. Firms experience with projects of similar type and size. Next one is firms' willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements.
So they did have like task leaders assigned to the project's expertise to best match the needs. They did mention task leader would be responsible to coordinate with all other disciplines. Having a lot of the in-house disciplines streamline the process, eliminating contractual coordination efforts. That's what I meant.
Notable to me is they talk about the approach being broken into 3 elements and then list 4 things. I thought the cost savings discussion with the survey was very helpful. And I did notice they had kind of the task leaders and the different points of context. And they talked about combined meetings a little bit.
I like the cost saving example with the
Amanda, did you have anything to share?
I went first.
Oh, you did, I'm sorry. Excuse me, pardon me.
Okay, so we go ahead and score.
I had a 17.
amazing.
Okay, with 17 or 18.
I was 18.
So 18 for number 3, firms' willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements for AIM. 18. Okay, next one, effect of firms' recent, current, and projected workload.
So they did show decreasing workload. Included a workload chart, but did not include the key members and their availability, and did not include the subs availability.
So I struggled with hardly any mention of backups, but there was this sentence, additional personnel can be assigned to this contract should the county's need dictate such. And that was kind of vague. It's like, I don't know if that counts as backup.
I don't say general and unclear.
Yes.
I think that's exactly what you said. And then they talked about the combined availability of the contract manager and task managers, but there was no specificity, so you don't really know what that means. I think Amanda's what your point was.
So I had an 8 in this one.
I do too.
That's what I'm okay with the 8, 9-ish, 9.
It's a 9.
I'm fine with a 9.
Okay.
So the consensus for number 4, Effect of firm's recent, current, and project workload is 9 for AIM engineering. Then Amanda, for effective project team's location, what is your score?
They did mention 3 key personnel that are not local. One's from Miami and 2 from Fort Myers, so I gave them a 4.
4. Excuse me. Okay, the next firm is American Consultant Engineers of Florida LLC. And y'all can start with your notes, pros and cons.
Sorry, I'm still
Trying to
pulling
find
this
my
up.
page.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Sure, I can start if you want. I thought they had an easy to follow narrative, where they discussed different personnel and they had a lot of tables. I would have liked to see them a little better connected because they have the personnel and contracts they worked on with kind of disciplines, and then they talk about the disciplines, but they don't really get into the detail of who has the actual experience of them. There was also one of the resumes that was missing a name and title. And the engineering lead's experience was mostly as an engineering intern. So I thought they had some good things, they had some things that made me just pause a little bit, especially with the detail.
Yeah, I do like that they had like all the different services from the scope and descriptions of, or just gave narrative about each one. Included like a table with some projects and what categories apply to it for the scope of services. I think they did have a good template together.
I love the tables, and I love the ease of being able to understand which projects kind of tailor towards a different scope. That was really helpful. I love the fact that they broke out public involvement, if that's an additional service, but the way that they do their public involvement and had an example, I thought that was really nice. And it was an excellent outline of the scopes. But I did want to see some mention of familiarity with Hillsborough County programs, like that tie-in of what's important to the county, having that kind of mention. That would have been nice, but other than that, I thought it was good.
What score did you get?
Yeah, we got 28.
I gave them a 24.
25. About 26.
So 26 for number 1, ability of firm is professional personnel.
Yes.
You said 26.
26.
Right. Number 2, firm's experience with projects of similar type and size.
So I do have a question about this section. The projects that they listed, all 10, they were good examples, but they were all ongoing services. Like I didn't see really like project ends, and that threw me off. Can you explain what that means from an engineer's perspective?
Much, I'd say. It's just pretty much showing they have current work going on, and which is good, because they're supposed to list work within the last 5 years. So
Right. Okay.
I guess they do have a good overall mix of projects.
A lot of continuing services contracts, that would make sense that they are still going.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought they did a good job of showing the team working together. I would have liked to see a little more on innovations and challenges.
Yes.
It's mostly descriptions, and the description doesn't really tell you that kind of detail.
If they missed that part, innovations, challenges. And the cost. Yeah, they don't include costs in there.
They have costs in
Some of them.
Some of them, and their project duration.
Okay.
Which can be a challenge sometimes with the ongoing ones, because ongoing, it doesn't give you always a sense of.
And they did like in the professional service contracts, they listed some projects, but I would have liked to see more information about these projects, what was done for those projects. Some did, but others didn't.
Some of them are kind of like a list.
So. I had a
We have a 22.
I had a 19.
23, so 22, 19.
22, 19, and 23.
22.
22 for consensus, for number 2, firms experience with projects of similar type and size. Next one, firms' willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements.
They discussed all the evaluation points and gave us examples, projects where schedules were shortened, although they didn't quite mention how they shortened it. But
I thought they clearly addressed the budget and QA, QC involvement in that process. I agree, I had a note, they talked about some innovations, but not really how you got there, it was more of a mention. And they did discuss senior staff involvement, but that was the one thing that kind of stood out to me as well.
I like that they mentioned the cost savings. That was a good choice.
And what was your supervisor?
My score for American was 19.
18,
And 16.
it was 18?
18 is
18.
Yeah.
So 18 for number 3.
Yes.
Okay, number 4, effect of firm's recent, current, and projected workload.
Trying to increase your workload. The continuing service contracts are still open, so they could get more work. Included a workload chart, but did not include key members and their availability, and did not include the subs availability.
That was my note.
Yeah.
Key team members availability.
Yeah, I thought this was missing some of the detail I would have liked to see.
I had an 8.
I had an 8 as well.
I had a 10, so 8 is fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's an 8.
Consensus of the 8 for number 4.
Yes.
Okay, and then for number 5, Amanda, effective project team location.
So prime and all their subs are within the Tampa Bay Regional Partnership areas, so they get a 5.
5. Alrighty, the next firm is Atkins North America, INC. And any notes or pros and cons?
This one they did not include resumes. They only kind of like summarized experience of some of the personnel, which I think they accommodate. So what happened to the rest of the key personnel?
I agree. It also had quite a few typos. There's stormwater with a capital W, there were weird commas, there's some weird phrasing. It was a little hard to read because of that. I also would have liked to see ITS, thought that was a discipline that I didn't see a lot covered here. Traffic signal ITS. They had a lot of services, but I felt that they didn't have the full breadth of services like title searching, ITS. And their details, like they had those details you mentioned, Amanda, but it didn't tell you much. It's very vague. I was looking at like some of their leads and it just says they have this many years of experience. It doesn't tell you anything.
Yeah, I agree with that, mostly that there was no expansion on the experience of the team. So that's kind of hard to score there.
I have a 15.
18, but 15 is good.
15.
So 15 for Atkins on ability of firm and its professional personnel. 15. Okay. The next one, firm's experience with projects of similar type and size.
Here too, they had typos. They had like an extra word in one of the titles. They did have examples of ongoing services at a high level. And some of them talked about challenges, but I would have liked to see a little more discussion of innovations and challenges. And just a little more of a closer look at the proposal being put together to make it cleaner.
They did mention a lot of this professional service contract that I don't know. Some listed few projects. There's not many project specific sheets. And I would have liked to see a little more about challenges, innovations. Just professional service just shows the elements included in the scope, but not quite like any examples of projects. And some of them.
Okay, y'all ready to score?
And I don't have any comments. Here.
Yeah, I have 18 also.
Yeah, mine's a little higher because I was looking at they had the 10, they met that, and the services seem to be on point with what you offer. I was not able to drill down to that level, so my score is a little higher at 22. So I'm okay with bringing it down.
Okay with 18? Or I think maybe a little higher, 19, 20.
I'd like to see him in the next category, maybe a 19.
19.
Is that okay? Okay.
19 is fine.
19 for consensus for firm's experience. Atkins. 19. Okay. Next one is firm's willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements.
No mention on ways to reduce budget costs, accelerate products.
Did you see any mention really of QA/QC?
I don't have that in my notes.
No. Cost control, controls to maintain scheduled budget, meeting scheduled budget requirements. QA/QC. Well, they have the little chart.
They have the
that
little
shows
the
QC
review,
process.
yeah.
Well, they did mention some unique issues or items based on our understanding of the scope.
So they talk about it a little bit.
I'm on the wrong tab. That is not okay. Brief mention of cost savings, but they're planning to stay in the schedule for that budget.
I would have liked to see a little more details on some of this. Right there, I see they talked about the QAQC program. But I felt like it could have been highlighted a little more.
Kind of 18.
I gave them a 17.
I gave them a 13, but I'm willing to go up to a 17, if that's okay.
We'll do 17.
17 for number 3,
Yes.
okay. And number 4, effect of firm's recent, current, and projected workload.
They exceeded the 2-page limit.
They did. Does that?
Get points taken off of that.
Yeah, and they
They didn't include the subs availability.
did not, and they mislabeled one of the figures, I think. So, on the PDF, page 33, it says our current workload is shown in figure 2, but then the figure, I think, is 4.
I'm sorry, what was
Yeah, it took me a while. I was like, where's figure 2? Like, we kept going back and
Yeah,
forth.
they
Well, that's not
mislabeled the
figure
figure, so they called it 2, but then they titled it 4.
Okay.
They did have the extra page. And did they include availability of the principal in charge in their commitment? They have,
And not Daniel.
he's the principal.
So, yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, it's a
He's the principal, okay. Yes.
They say they are 65% available for the key personnel.
Yeah.
45% availability for all the rest of the team members.
Oh, I know it now. It was that the principal is only available 20%, it looks like. Sorry.
Yeah.
Took me a second.
Yeah, it took me a while to figure out the chart.
Figure out the
This
chart.
was, what was highlighted was their commitment, like their current workload, their availability, how they think it is their current.
Yes, I think the clear is what their availability is, right?
That's what I think. Yeah.
Unclear, but that's my, yes.
That's my assumption. Okay, so score.
I gave them a 12.
12, okay.
I gave them a 9.
And I had a 10. 10?
Put it over 10.
10, that's fine.
Okay, so consensus of a 10 on number 4, effective firm's recent, current, and projected workload. Okay, and Amanda, number 5, effective project team location.
5, all prime and subs are in the Tampa Bay regional area.
Okay. All right, moving on to the next, I'm sorry.
Actually, I bumped it down to a 4. I was on the wrong tab because it
Okay.
exceeded the page limit. Page limit was 1 and they included 3 pages. Yes, sorry. quite follows.
Okay, moving on to the next firm, BCC Engineering LLC.
So I like the introduction of the team leads for the different tasks. I think they put together a well-qualified team. They also did mention TTM, which is not used for design standards, developer use. They showed that our old review comment response form, not the current review process. But they really haven't had any current work with this, I guess.
Yeah. I would have liked to see, it's just kind of notable, I guess, to me, that when they had that list of sample engineering services and support contracts, they were all cities. I agree, they kind of showed a wide range. And they had kind of a table with their experience. I did question some of what was in there. I was gonna ask you about it, Amanda, because some of it did seem a little dated to me. Like they weren't familiar with some of the more recent ways of doing things.
Yeah.
And they really focused on page 10, on roadway pavement preservation program. It just was a little weird to me that they focused on that so much. And then some of their resumes, I just would have liked to see a little bit more relating back to this particular scope. Kind of, some of them I would like to see tied better into their role.
That was my comment of not a definition of being able to meet the scope of the first part of it. I mean, they have a great table and they mentioned it, but I feel like it could have been called out a little bit more.
I don't know, maybe I missed it, but I didn't see a resume for the principal in charge or for the quality control.
You said the principal in charge, Chris Bridges.
He's the project manager, so the principal in charge is Victor Herrera,
Oh, there he is. Okay.
and then the quality control is Ariel Milan and William German. And I did not see resumes for those three people, which was a concern to me.
I guess they didn't have the star next to them as a key personnel.
Right.
I guess they
I
were
guess
wanting to include resumes for key staff.
Yeah, I would just have said, to
Mark
me,
them as key staff.
the principal and the QC staff should be key staff.
QC staff should be
Yeah,
very
they're,
important.
yeah, they were
Key
not listed as key, and I guess that's what exactly I figured it out.
Yeah. So, score.
But I did like the familiarity with the county, the way they basically talked about like working with us in different areas, like the knowledge of the things that are important to the county. I liked that, so.
Yeah.
I gave them a 25.
I gave them a 13. I guess I saw it really
20.
different.
Yeah.
I can go up. I guess I see some of the experiences like the dated bothered me, but
Okay.
I'll go up. I can go up to a 20. That's fine.
Okay.
You good with the 20?
Yeah, I'm good with the 20.
20,
You voted 20?
yes, 20.
Yeah, I can go with the 20. I felt like they leaned on that oval, so.
So 20 is a consensus?
Yes.
And this is for number one, ability of firm and its professional personnel.
Yes.
All right, number two, firm's experience with projects of similar type and size.
Here, I think all the projects were they were all of similar sizes, I think it's right. They did include challenges encountered and innovative approaches.
They didn't have any examples with the PM. Which just stood out to me, I guess.
I think I went first the last time, so.
We already,
Oh, we did? Oh, yes.
she's like.
I'm
zoned,
sorry.
like,
Yes, I was zoned into it. To me, they had all 10 projects, and good examples. They were similar, which was really easy for me to understand. And they were all within 5 years, so I like that.
I had them at 25.
27.
I had 18. But I can go higher. It was just the thing that stood out to me was, like I said, that the project manager wasn't on any of these projects that I could tell.
That's pretty big though.
3 maybe?
Sure.
So a consensus of 23 for number 2?
Yes.
Okay. All right, next, number 3, firms' willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements.
They did mention it's an innovative idea, not doing 30% submittal, just doing 60, but that is pretty much what we do.
Y'all already
We
do
all-
that? Oh,
We all
okay.
start at 60%
Okay.
for our plan submittals. I guess only some PDDs include 30%, that would be pretty much it. But we tend to start at 60% of plan submittals.
I still counted that as an example in my book and pretty quickly, so.
I thought they did have a good dialogue, where they talked about different things. I thought they had a kind of clear process. I liked that they talked about monitoring and control. And how to meet different requirements and redundancy.
They did have a good write-up. Their ability to meet schedule and budget, talked about schedules, budgeting, monitoring, and control, their management approach. Yeah, ready to school?
So I do have a question. So a lot of the firms mention QA/QC as a part of the process for staying on budget and schedule, and I didn't see much mention of that.
Yeah.
I did like the brevity of this, but I didn't see that, and now that we look back at the QA/QC stuff wasn't a key.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
great
that's a
point.
good point.
I'm wondering if that's why.
Very good.
Yes. I was also looking, and I have a note about the role of subs, just to make sure like when the subs get incorporated. Because they have on page 40 of the PDF, they have like a list of bullet points. So they've got like kickoff, reporting, schedule, budget monitoring control, quality reviews and management, and then they have sub-consultant quality control. I was wondering how integrated the subs are, if they have kind of a separate item. we had hoped that they'd be more, integrated.
So it's scored to
A 12.
$17,
15.
15.
15, that's fine. Good.
Yeah.
Alright, so consensus of 15 for number 3. Alright, number 4, effects of firm's recent, current, and projected workload.
So they did provide all the key members availability.
They did, and it included subs.
It's a short little write-up.
It was. Revenue's a recurring theme here. But there's no mention of backup. From what I could find.
Yes. That's a good point.
Yeah, I did have them at a 10. This category.
Give them a 10.
I gave them a 12.
I gave them a 10.
10.
10, you good? 10.
So 10 for number 4.
Yes. That's good. Okay.
And then Amanda, number
Team
5.
location, 5. 5, they're all individual partnership area.
Okay, the next firm is Burgess and Nyepel, INC. Is it Nyepel or Nyepel?
So, what they've discussed all the disciplines and team leads. They have multiple subs for support. They added a safety lead. And multiple survey 2 subs. And I did like that they mentioned the 5 factors for the right of acquisition, which is important for our projects.
I thought they did a very good job of kind of explaining concisely but thoroughly who was going to be doing what with their experience. I thought that was very easy to follow, it was very comprehensive, it kind of answered my questions before I had them.
I love the layout and how easy it is to see the scopes and how they meet them, and also the relevant project experience with the different team members involved. I thought that was really nice.
I like that.
Committee, I was asked to let y'all know that it's hard to hear y'all, so y'all can speak up so that we can capture your voice.
This is my normal voice.
Use your outside voice.
Outside
Okay.
voice.
Okay.
I use my yellow back kid's voice.
Yes, there you go. Alright, so we were at Burgess and Nyepel, and y'all are discussing.
And I agree how they included like each category for each scope item, they included the personnel task leads for each one.
Yeah.
They put together a very good team. I think it was a great team. Multiple subs for survey and Sue, and it's very helpful. A lot of extra resources when needed. So I gave them. Spreadsheet. I have them at 28.
I gave it 30.
I gave it 25.
So we're all still the same category,
Yeah,
so that's
yeah.
good.
28.
Sure.
28 is good.
So 28 as a consensus for number 1.
Yes, 28.
All right, number 2, firms experience with projects of similar type and size.
All projects were relevant. They did provide the cost of the design fees, which was nice to see. They did not quite include challenges or include approaches. They did have a good mix.
They did, I just noticed one thing in some of the examples, that one that stood out to me, they have key staff on proposed team that had someone who's not on the team. But otherwise, I thought that they did like a wide range of examples. I thought that there were ones that were very relevant to what we're looking for. And I agree with Amanda, I would have liked to see a little more on maybe innovations or challenges that was listed. And I thought they also had some examples of continuing contracts, which was good to see mixed in there.
I like the variety of the projects that they showed. They were all within 5 years relevant, and I think they did a good job.
I had 28.
Same.
I had 24. I can go up to 28. That's
Good with
fine.
28?
Yep, that's fine.
All right, so number 2, 28.
Yes.
Number 3, firm's willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements.
Did mention how they're able to mobilize multiple teams to accommodate individual project assignments. And noted here, provide concurrent project assignments to the same team to apply same methodology and approach, which to me is consistency, which I like. Wasn't that much mentioned here at QC, was there?
No, not that much. I thought they had a lot on kind of understanding in depth, but I did think it was a little light on QAQC.
I cannot find clear examples of cost saving.
We did mention accelerated project schedules they've used in the past.
We just need to focus more on that, that kind of savings.
It's not needed.
Yeah, so I see the accelerated project schedule, and to me, that just kind of falls into managing a schedule, and not necessarily for the purpose of reducing costs. I get that it could, but it doesn't spell it out. So that's. Scored really bad. I gave them the 16.
$14.
I think 16. That's fair. 16.
If you're now joining us, please mute your line, please. Thank you. All right, so 16, 14, and a 16, and the
Yes.
consensus is a 16 for number 3.
Yes.
All right. Okay, number 4, effects of firm's recent, current, and projected workload.
So they did provide availability for all key members and their subs. They are showing high availability, include backup teams, which is good.
So, alright, so, oh wait, no question, never mind. We're good. Yep, that was mentioned with good availability, okay.
Are you number 13?
15 for me.
13, 14, and a 15.
I had 15.
I can go with 15.
14.
14.
14's good.
Okay, 14 for number 4. And then number 5, Amanda.
5, all prime subs are within 10 regional area.
Okay. Moving on to the next firm, Burns and McDonald Engineering Company, INC.
I can start if you want. I thought this was very general. I would have, it was just a little hard for me to understand some of the details of the services they would actually provide, in some of their write-up. It was, not specific into kind of the details. I also, in the org chart, would have liked to see the subs a little better integrated. And see the disciplines a little bit more comprehensively addressed.
I noted that they didn't mention PDD testing. What would be the lead for that? No utility coordination team lead. Not sure if that was part of their roadway design team. Same with MOT. I'm not sure what services the Television and Associates is providing, or Columbia Fair, because they did not really mention. There's no mention in the write-up about the subs and their services. And they did not include any resumes for the subs. And project team, they do not contain all the necessary disciplines.
I struggled with this one a bit. Like Sarah, I thought the beginning was very generic. It was like just general language about the firm, it seemed, but I struggle with connecting what they have to this. But the layout is great, but it needed to. It just didn't help me understand how they could, I don't know, service the scope. Because I left more confused through the beginning than understanding.
I gave them a 12.
I gave them a 12.
Even with fatigue. It was a little high, but
Let's see.
I gave them a 12 in part because I felt like they lacked some of the disciplines.
Yeah.
And I was looking at like project team contains all the disciplines, organization is adequate to the project, which is that 13 to 18 range, and I didn't see that.
Yeah, I think that's why I gave them a 12, because, yeah, 1318 says project team contains all necessary disciplines, which they do not include, which is from the category between 7 and 12 says project team lacks minor disciplines, which they did not include all the disciplines.
I also felt
That's
like
why I
they
gave
didn't,
it 12.
yeah, they didn't understand the project.
I'm okay with this one.
So we're gonna do consensus of a 12 for number 1.
Yes.
Okay. Number 2, firms experienced with projects of similar type and size.
All projects were within the last 5 years. They were of similar type. Some that may give similar size. Seems like they had projects that were performed from other offices, not local to the Tampa area. So they did have some big projects, like turnpikes, bridges, interstate, which is not really comparable, I guess, to what we did.
That was one of my notes, as well as a lot of the examples were these big kind of interstate expressway projects. Roadway extensions, which we do a little bit of that, but
I liked the examples. I thought they were pretty large, but I liked that. I thought that it showed that they have the ability to handle those larger projects. So it was all 10 within the last 5 years.
I don't think they included the challenges or creative ideas.
some of them I would have liked to see a little bit better connected, I think. You know, like how the services they provided would compare to what we are asking for.
Let's see. We had a lot of out-of-state projects. Okay, let's see. What do they give them? Give them 13.
I give them an 18.
I gave them a 25. But not for the reasons that you all listed. You guys make some really great points. I was able to see it from a different perspective. Like, these are really great projects. And it's clear and easy to understand, but I'm fine with coming down to.
You guys would do 20 maybe?
Yeah.
Sorry, between
Yeah.
You were 18.
I was lower.
I'm sorry.
But that's fine.
14, 18,
She was pretty much same category.
Yeah, we would think, yeah.
Okay, well,
We can go up to the next category.
sure. Okay, 19.
We'll give the 19.
19.
The consensus of a 19 for number 2. Okay, number 3, firm's willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements.
I didn't see any mention of schedules here or ways to reduce budget costs for other projects. They spoke mostly regarding their staffing.
Yeah, and that could have made me question the stability when they talked about like guiding hiring strategies. It was very resource focused. And I would have liked to see a little more discussion on QAQC.
Yep, no QAQC. And it seems like they could have added more. Yeah, onto here. Especially since it's a 2-page.
Yeah, I didn't see any mention of cost savings.
They just focus more on how they're just a big company, they have all the
Yeah.
staff available, different offices around the world. I think this is speaking more about how they manage the schedule
Yeah,
more specifically.
I think that's fair. That's a good way of thinking about it.
So it kind of left me with the feeling of, okay, they're gonna manage the budget and schedule, but above and beyond just didn't seem to be there for me.
I gave them a 12.
I gave them the 14.
I had a 10. I could go to a 12.
12.
Are you good with 12?
Yeah.
12 for number 3.
Yes, 12.
Okay, number 4, affect a firm's recent, current, and projected workload.
Seems to me that most of the Q staff was shown low availability. They do not show the subs availability.
So the key staff didn't have a lot of availability. They talked about having a lot of on-call contracts. They actively manage 18 on-call transportation service contracts, so. Seems like a lot to me.
I just see, they too again mentioned how they have all the resources.
Right.
We would like more local resources, not so much worldwide resources. So I would have liked to see more talk about that, more localized. You know?
Yeah, it's good to have that kind of availability if there's a need, but you don't want to rely on that for,
everything.
yeah, an everyday kind of stuff.
So for me, they mentioned having backups. I was a little concerned about the availability. The chart just kind of threw me off here, the current and projected workload. It's just like, okay, September is wild, and it's behind us, but
Yeah.
and then the next few months are right up to that line of the max availability, so, or the capacity. So, be ready to talk about score. I still score them in the 4th category, but for me, that was a 13.
Give them a 10.
10.
Yeah, it's fine.
10.
Yep, 10.
Okay, so 10 for number 4. Okay, and Amanda for number 5.
Number 5, they did mention the PM is from Tampa, but it appeared to me that the entire roadway design team was not local. 4 were out of state, 1 was from Orlando. The entire traffic team was not local, 3 out of state, 1 from Orlando. The entire bridge team design was not local, 4 out of state. So I gave them a 2. We just have a lot of out-of-state staff mentioned here.
Okay.
All right, moving on to the next firm, CDM Smith.
I liked how they showed like 4 teams or design teams, although 2 of them were mostly subs. But they did show diversity of having availability of multiple teams. They had multiple roadway, survey, student geotech subs. Do have support, like backup support for roadway design. The write-up for different components mentions the team leads, but then they don't show them as key staff in the org chart. So they did not include any resumes for those, although they were mentioned. So that was a bit confusing.
I like the mention of so many services offered. They had a lot of supplemental services, especially the business ops services were pretty in depth.
I think they covered all the disciplines.
Yeah, I agree. I thought they covered the disciplines. I thought they provided a good understanding. I also noted the teams not having key personnel, like the team leads. But I also was a little thrown by their discussion of how the county approving a spending plan to allocate the money for the tax, which we're not really able to, that's a state thing, so.
That's old news.
Yeah, I felt like that kind of started me off with a little bit of like lack of understanding feeling, but then I thought they did a very thorough job with the disciplines and the range of disciplines. I like they talked about complete corridors, resiliency, grant support. I thought that was all very good.
I gave them a 30. Yeah, I hand out 30s. Like, if it's really good, I thought it was really good. So,
A different perspective.
yeah.
I gave them a 19.
I had 20. Let's see.
Oh, wow. Here.
I think we booked 5. Bring it up to the next category.
So you had a 20.
Yeah, I was in the category.
I had a 19.
Category below.
Oh,
Yeah.
19. Okay,
Yeah.
so you were in the category below.
Yeah.
I can come up to the category maybe like a 25, 24. Is that too high? So the issue was, the mention of something that's old news, right? I thought there was a lot of information in this, but the services were there. And Amanda.
They mentioned all the services and they did do a good write-up
Yeah.
of each section discussed it. And I did like how they had shown the 4 different teams. But some, like I said, they just didn't show key staff in some of them.
Right, like the team leads not having resumes.
Oh,
I
okay.
could, no, they did do a good write-up. I
Yeah.
could go up to 25.
I go too, that's fine.
So a consensus for number 125.
Yes.
All right, number 2, firms experience with projects of similar type and size.
So for me, I like that all 10 projects were there within the 5 year, and there was a variety of the services.
Agree.
I agree.
I like the continuing transportation design services. They have just showed some examples of projects, but they also included the fee for each project and description of what was done for each project, which was good to see. They do have a good mix. They're all relevant.
I agree. I would have liked to see a little more innovation and challenges discussed.
Seems like that this is tougher.
Yeah. But I thought it was, again, from a range of projects. They involved sub-consultants, and I talked about some of them. I thought that was helpful to see. They did have a lot of FDOT or like the state DOT examples, but they also had a couple of counties in there for other projects.
I gave it a 20.
I gave it a 28.
I gave them an 18. But I'm willing to go up.
What did you say, Gabe?
I gave them a 28, so I can go, you can go to a 20.
What did you give them?
20.
You gave them a 20,
I go somewhere in the
Somewhere.
19 to 24 range.
maybe 22, 21.
That's
What do you
fine.
think?
23.
23.
Sure. Okay, that's
Okay.
fine.
Right, 23 for number 2. Okay, firms' willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements.
So, they did mention the cost savings.
The interest in things of these sections is for more than 15 years, and they demonstrate their ability and willingness to meet the county's aggressive and rigid schedules. But I didn't see, and maybe I missed it, examples of them working for the county. But I thought they had a very clear process. They talked about monthly updates,
They showed good understanding of approach to schedule budget.
they talked about sub-consultants, which I thought was helpful to see. An important piece of this.
Agree. So. 15.
I gave it a 13.
15, you said 13.
I gave them a 19. I thought they hit all the pieces that were required. Um,
I don't think they mentioned QAQC. Did they?
Not in detail. Yeah, I don't question mark with QAQC.
um, comfortable coming down.
I could go to like 16.
Yeah, 16.
So 16 for number 3.
Yeah, 16.
Okay, number 4, effect of firm's recent, current, and projected workload.
So my only real question on this one goes back to the teams idea where some of the team leads are shown, I guess, for some of them, but not others, which I guess goes back to them not being key personnel. Was like trying to figure out roles, and there are teams and there are tasks, and it was like confusing to me. But I did like how their chart had the numbers, so you could actually see what it meant.
Yeah, we do seem to have a lot of availability
And backups.
and backups.
Yes.
We do have multiple subs for different areas, which is always good to see. Which means a lot of backup. So, yeah. So,
I gave them a 9, which was a perk of that team task thing. I'm willing to go up.
I'm okay going with the 12. But I gave them the 15. So,
Okay, 12.
Consensus of the 12 for number 4. And then for 5, Amanda?
5. CDMs. All their subs are within the area, but part of their local team, well, they did mention 4 local teams based in Tampa and Orlando. So I gave them 4.
Okay, next firm, Civil Works Inc.
This one was lacking a lot of information.
Yeah.
I did not have any write-up. It just included an org chart and pretty much description, like a brief resume kind of thing for each key personnel, I guess.
Yes.
They're showing 2 subs, which I have no idea what tasks they're gonna be doing. It's not mentioned.
No, it's just like a project manager.
They're missing a lot of disciplines.
I noticed that as well. Really very limited services. And the experience provided seemed quite limited for what we were asking. We looked at their resumes, it just seemed like a little bit of a disconnect, or a lot of bit of a disconnect, I guess, would be more accurate.
It's just org charting resumes.
I agree. I like that they went for it here, but I didn't have anything to go off of. I didn't see much mention of scope or anything like that, so.
Give them a 5.
Give them a 6.
I gave them a 6.
Go with 6.
So 6 for number 1 for Civil Works.
Yes.
Okay, number 2, firm's experience with projects of similar and type and size.
I thought they missed the mark on this as well. I didn't see similar kinds of contracts. I saw more structures or other things like a parking garage, a hospital campus, a lot of drainage and stormwater, which is a piece of this, but not really the focus.
Yeah. I think I saw only 5 relevant projects maybe listed in the past 5 years. I did provide 11. Limit was 10.
I read this bill. I thought I saw 7 that were within the last 5 years, but maybe only 5 were relevant. I'm not sure. We have to go back and recount.
I think regardless, it was very lacking.
Yeah, there seems to be lacking some information. I don't think they included costs in any of them.
They did for some.
There's some,
Yeah.
no innovative ideas or challenges.
Yeah. It was hard to see examples that related to what we're asking. I gave them a 6.
I gave them a 12.
Gave them a 10.
I'll move up.
10.
10, okay, so 10 for number 2. Number 3, firm's willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements.
They covered all topics that were included in the evaluation section. So I did like that. But it did seem a bit generic.
Yeah. Vague. There's a sentence about the team is transportation engineers, planners, and project managers, but that wasn't reflective of their actual team.
The one that said to describe any unique issues based on understanding of project scope. They said since it was a general scope, they did not see any major issues. I feel like they could have discussed maybe some issues that they've seen on other projects. Since they know what items are included in the scope of services.
I do not recall seeing anything about cost savings in this section. Do you all, did y'all see?
They talk about maintaining the schedule and budget with controls, which isn't the same thing as like a cost saving necessarily.
Yeah, I don't think they really mentioned any cost savings.
That was my note.
Give them a 10 in the category.
I gave them a 12.
I gave them an 8.
10.
10 for number 3.
Yes.
Number 4, affect the firm's recent, current, and projected workload.
Do you think they showed their percent available or their percent committed?
This is workflows. I'm thinking that's what their current workload is, which does not leave them with a lot of availability. That's what my understanding was.
Yes.
Of those percentages.
Yeah, I was not sure what they meant. Either way, I didn't think they were good, that it was one, not clear, and 2, that they didn't have a lot of time available.
That was my note, that there wasn't much availability. And the mention of like significant backups.
So we had an 8.
I gave them a 10.
I gave them an 8.
8.
Made it fine.
So 8 for number 4, and then for number 5, Amanda?
5. They showed only one key member from Tampa, 2 subs from the Tampa Bay Regional Partnership area. But they did show PMs from Doral office and sub from Orlando, so I gave them a 1.
A 1,
And I'll give them a 2. Let's go with a 2.
2.
Yes.
Okay, the next firm, DRMP INC.
Just seemed to mention a lot of like information, like, well, just write up on their subs.
Yeah.
And project manager. I would like to see more like scope specific.
It came off to me that way as fragmented, I think, because of that with the subs. It was more on, it took away the idea of like the disciplines or how they work together or something like that. And like I have a question about who's gonna lead which disciplines.
We did include that little table, which I kind of liked, about their experience on different project teams working together.
Yeah.
So, I guess just kind of question for y'all. I felt like I don't know if it's called an intro letter. It did a lot of the section that, for section 1, I felt like it mentioned some of the things that probably should have been included in there, but it's not part of that.
Yeah, since it wasn't really part of that category, I didn't even look at that because it wasn't included in
Yeah.
the category,
Yeah, they really
the
needed,
evaluation area.
yeah, they really needed to bring it in
Bring it
to
into
the
that.
section.
So they should have discussed those items in this section, which is
That's fair.
the section where I'm doing.
I like that the resumes provided project information that's relevant for each person.
But I did put it together a good team.
Yeah.
We have multiple subs for different areas like surveying, which is, they seem always important to have more than one.
But they only included resumes for 2 subs. Which, so they spent all this
And
time
it's only
talking
showing
about
2 key personnel,
their-
yeah.
team and how their subs are so involved, and then at the end of the day, they didn't count them really.
You can count them
That's
as
just
key
personnel.
personnel.
Yeah.
Good point there.
I also would have liked to see for the resumes they had, just a better connection to their role in the project.
Yeah.
The one that stood out to me was like the principal in charge, which is great that he's part of the team and doing all this stuff, but his examples were as engineers and project managers. Which is fine, it's good experience. He had like a couple as vice president in charge, but I'd like to look to see, do the resumes provide examples of them doing that kind of work.
I'll give them a 20.
I gave them 13.
I gave them a 22.
I can go up.
better.
You said if you gave them a 20 and a 22, so a 20,
Maybe 20?
sure, I can see your points on the good team.
So 20 for number one.
Yes.
Okay. And number two, firms experienced with projects of similar type and size.
If you don't mind me starting, there was a major typo on your example for Hines Avenue, saying the location was in Pinellas County, which is a big typo. They only
I
have
did notice Port Sutton, they did mention that was a 12-month total project turnaround, but the project is not completed yet. It's still under them.
Yeah, that's a problem to me, or concern, I guess, not a problem. I would have liked to see some more examples with the subs included as well, given the emphasis on the subs and the role that they play.
And they were missing costs. Looking for challenges.
Some of them, but they could have done more to talk about challenges or innovations. A lot of the description.
I did like how they added the relevancy to this contract. And pointed out some of those items, so.
Yeah,
That was
I
a
agree.
plus. I think they were all relative to scope of work.
That's what I have.
Yeah.
All 10 projects are relevant. And within the last 5 years.
So I gave them.
I gave them a 26.
I gave them an 18.
I had them at 23. So what, 18 and
18, 23, 26. So, you okay with
I'm not
going down?
February?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will go up to the 19 to 24 category.
And I will go down.
So you're okay with the 23?
Yep.
23 for number two.
Yes.
Okay, number three, firm's willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements.
I didn't really see anything unique. This write-up just seemed a bit generic.
Does not mention cost saving.
Yeah. I would have liked to see more discussion of how the subs relate into this. Or kind of, they also talk about the monthly meetings and the minutes within 2 weeks, which was a little concerning to me that it would take 2 weeks to do a monthly meeting minutes.
Yes, it is that. It seems like a
It's
long,
a long time.
long time.
By then you're already almost at the, halfway to the next meeting.
It's not much mention of QAQC. They did kind of mention it, but not very much in detail.
They have like a sentence. And then they talk about controls.
So no cost savings, right? You always do the fancy schedule.
So I put them in the second to the bottom category, but I gave them a 16.
I gave them a 12.
I have them at 12 also.
I will reach out as well.
12.
Okay, so 12 for number three.
Yes.
Okay, number four, effect of firm's recent, current, and projected workload.
did show high availability
Yeah,
and included their subs.
we did.
They should have over 700 backup staff, yes, so they should have.
I think overall it was a good.
Yeah, I felt like to me it fell in the category of adequate. I
Yeah.
didn't see anything that could have stood out to me. They did what we asked them to do when they did that, fine,
Yes. Agree.
I gave them a 15.
I did too.
I gave them a 10. But I can go on.
Okay.
15,
14?
14.
It's okay.
Okay. Yep. I'm gonna do 14.
Okay, so 14 for number 4. And number 5, Amanda?
I gave them a 4, as they're showing their environmental team and title search are from the Orlando office, which is not in the regional partnership area.
Okay, moving on to the next, Fowler Davis and Associates.
What stood out to me is this group listed you as the PM.
They listen.
And with a PE in your name,
It's, you are now an engineer. I'll show you.
a certified.
This is certified engineer, here, I'll show you. Okay.
Okay.
Um,
They had busy project manager, think name, PD.
Here.
I think he's forecasting.
There we go. It's in your future. It's in your future.
So they did speak about all their key personnel and type of work related to the scope. Which I feel like, they have multiple surveys to a geotech, which is always a plus. Could have probably added more pages
yeah,
to discuss further areas that were requested maybe. Overall, I think it's a good team they put together.
I did find it a little hard to follow.
Yes.
Um, the other thing that really stood out to me is they had a number of people based on their resumes who were new staff within a year or two of the firm. That were kind of key people because they have a resume, but they're at, a year experience total or a year or two with the firm. I appreciate, giving people opportunities, but I did find that to be a little concerning. I think it was the drainage PM was one of the ones they moved it. Some of the others is just was like a big role for them.
I struggled to find the scope of services in relation to their, basically their proposal. I struggled with that.
Yeah, I think they only kind of mentioned it in the staff discussion items, but yeah, it would have been nice to see more thorough
Yeah.
write-up of the different scope elements.
And I would have liked to see a little bit more thorough discussion of like who's doing PD&E and plans review work. It seemed like the PM and the principal charge were doing some of those roles, but I would have liked to see that a little bit more fleshed out. and they had like some examples of like under their name, like how they listed their role, but then they didn't really get into it. I think especially when you talk about like public involvement, I really want to see you doing, examples of public involvement, or if you're doing PD&E studies, I really would like to see your role in the PD&E studies. I felt like they were trying to do a lot with the team, the people they had, but I would have liked to see that better fleshed out.
Which I could have done. Because they only did 2 pages.
Yeah. And very crammed together.
I have another 18. 20,
I'm okay with an 18, that's what I have as well.
18, 15 is good.
Yeah.
18.
18 as a consensus for number 1.
Yes.
Number 2, firms experience with projects of similar type and size.
Eight examples.
Yeah.
I had 8.
So,
They seem old a little bit.
yeah, there was one that stood out to me as that old. Ended in 2019, which I guess falls within the range, so it's not too bad. They did have some typos in these. And very vague descriptions.
Challenges or innovations. Or cost either.
They listed one of them. I found it a little hard to follow the page numbers, but like one of them, they talked about avoiding utilities and ADA compliance as a priority. Just, I felt like it was not very, they could have really expanded a little bit more on innovation and challenges and good examples. But to me, like ADA compliancy is kind of a requirement.
Yeah.
Don't highlight that. Something great.
I don't have much to add. I just know that there were only 8, but I thought that the type was, they gave different types. So that was nice. I did not like how some had photos and some didn't. I would have liked to see photos for all of them, very visual, but the information's there, so. So I gave them a 20.
I gave them a 15.
23.
Okay.
Okay.
20. Do you have that up? Or do we go?
I think you're in the right category because, I don't think they went above and beyond.
Yeah.
What were you thinking, a 20? Or a little higher?
I can do a 20, or 20, 21. You were at 23.
And then
Yeah. 23, 15, and 20. Rating is
20 or 21. I'm okay with that, I think.
20.
20 for number 2.
Yeah. 20.
Number 3, firms' willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements.
I did like how they mentioned that the field are used to identify challenges in their scoping.
Yeah.
Including constructability reviews, which is separate from their QA/QC process. And mentioned TTN, which is not one of our manuals to use for design.
QC.
It's good and go like section for section, like step by step for
That's really nice.
project, which I really did like that.
Yeah.
You have a really good understanding of the process. They did mention some unique ideas.
And they mentioned cost savings.
Overall, well done.
I give them a 20.
I gave them a 15.
I gave them, where am I gave them 18.
And we're at 18.
That's good.
18, number 3. All right, number 4, effect of firm's recent, current, and projected workload.
Show high availability. Did include their subs in there.
I thought this was an interesting layout. It's really different from what we've seen.
Yeah, it's a wheel.
It's,
thing.
yeah.
Different chart.
Yes. Different.
Kind of
But
makes it easier to read.
yeah, it makes it easier to read, and I mean, they have the availability. It's like, but what I would have liked to seen is like the breakdown of the different team members, or like at least for the prime, or their key team members availability.
Yeah, I think if we were gonna do the graphic, maybe next time make it bigger.
Yeah, maybe it
That's
was it's hard
A
to.
little hard to follow, like the idea of.
Did mention backup staff available.
That was one of my questions. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Use backup staff.
I gave them 15.
I did too.
I gave them a 12, but I could go with 15.
Did you
15.
15?
And
Location of 5, and prime and subs are all within Tampa Bay regional areas. 5.
okay, ladies, we're gonna take a short little break. I don't mind, like a 10-minute restroom break. Is that cool?
You read my
Yeah.
mind.
All right, so to the people that are participating, we're gonna take a 10-minute bathroom break, but we'll be back at 11:15 to continue the other 10 firms. So stay tuned, we're muting and cut the camera off, but we'll be back at 11:15. Thank you.
9.
Okay, we are back. We are starting off with the firm H.W. Lochner, Inc. Any input?
We're focusing. I thought this was very thorough and descriptive at the same time.
Agree.
I felt like I could really see the disciplines, I could see who's doing work, kind of how they tied it into their experience. I liked that they covered a lot of the other services and the full like services we asked for, I think. And they talked about task-based contracts and self-management and things like that. So I thought they did a very, very good job with this.
I agree. I think they did a good write-up. They included the team leads, what tasks they are doing. They have multiple subs for survey, Zoom, geotech. We have a good team put together here. Like Kelly mentioned, the approach to the contract, have a good understanding of the scope.
That was my word, was understanding. I felt like they really understood the scope, and Hillsborough County, I think they did a really good job of relating the scope to our department and how we work, so. I've got a returning one.
Junior
Yeah.
Here.
Thank you.
It's a good thing with all of us.
Yes,
One
same.
of us is safe.
So I have a 28.
28.
Yeah.
I gave them a 25.
And I gave them a 30.
It is going 28.
28.
28.
28.
Yeah.
Final consensus, okay. Number 1. All right, number 2. Firms experience with projects of similar type and size.
I think all the projects were similar type projects. They are missing the cost, challenges, innovations part. Overall, good mix of projects.
Yeah, I think they have like notes that in like a few places they talked about innovation and challenges, but really not many. Their examples were very Hillsborough County focused, which this is a Hillsborough County thing. It might have been nice to just see if they had anything innovative from outside the county that they could have brought in as an example, but I think they did a good job.
And that's, so the fact that all the projects were in Hillsborough County is the reason why I loved it. So, all 10 projects, all within that time frame, and all within Hillsborough County. They're all different, which was nice. I love the pedestrian example, crosswalks and things like that. So I liked it.
I gave it 25.
I gave them a 24.
I did 28. 25.
25?
25.
That's good. 25.
25 for number 2.
Yes.
All right, number 3, firms' willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements.
They do mention cost savings.
about a work plan for addressing quality control in these other areas. Their experience, I thought they did a good job of bringing in some of their experience to like show how they would do some of the things they talk about.
We do have a good approach in managing and budgeting and schedule. We did mention about having innovative concepts to reduce construction costs. You mentioned QAQC. Overall, I think it's pretty well descriptive here. Let's see what they gave me. I had a 16.
We have a 17.
And I have a 15.
16, 17. Okay.
16?
16.
All right, 16 for number 3. And then number 4, effect of firm's recent, current, and projected workload.
Has availability, but does not mention backups. Not unless you guys saw something I did.
I think the availability is kind of average.
Yeah. I agree.
Didn't include their subs, which is good. They're all kind of mid-type availability. Seems like.
Yeah, I felt like this was adequate. My general thing. They could complete it and would have liked to see more on backup, like if something were to come up, it's like some subs. I thought their table was easy to follow. You knew how it was available, you knew which was like unavailable workload. It was very clear.
We included a legend on this one.
Yes.
Table.
Yes, that was very helpful.
Very helpful.
I gave them an 11.
I gave them a 12.
How about a 12 then?
You'll give it a 12?
Okay, so 12 for number 4, and then Amanda, number 5.
Okay. We do have one sub from Orlando, so and it's not in our regional partnership area, so at 4.
Okay, moving on to HDR.
Our chart was huge. And a lot of personnel this year. Lots of subs. It did seem to cover all the areas the scope was related to.
It was very thorough.
Yes. I tell you, gave a little brief summary of each task leader. But then they did include like every item of the scope, like
Yes.
brief write-ups for all that as well. I think it was very thorough.
Described it balanced too. It was very well done. It was very easy to understand who the athletes are in their experience, the disciplines, there was an understanding of them. We talked about like QC, communications, I thought. Very strong section.
Yes. Okay. So. Got a 28.
Did we do a 25?
I gave them a 30.
Is it
28.
28.
That's fine.
28 for number 1. HDR, okay. Number 2, firm's experience with projects
of similar type and size.
So there were a lot of general service type contracts. Some included some projects with descriptions of what the projects were about, and others did not. Included the cost, but did not really include any challenges or innovative ideas. Well, maybe on some of the innovative intersection, yeah, this one does.
You had to kind of search for it a little bit.
Yeah.
They have their subs included in the key personnel, so it looks like they've worked together before.
I like the variety of the projects.
Yeah.
Project.
Yeah, it's a good variety. I gave them a 25.
Same. We've done a 24. I'm willing to go to 25.
So we're going with a 25 on number 2?
Yes.
Okay. All right, number 3, firm's willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements.
So I feel like they covered all the topics in this section. They had a good understanding and included some innovative approaches.
We do not mention cost savings.
Do you talk about teaming arrangements and like getting the right staff for the project? Gave them a 16.
I also gave them a 16.
And an 18. I think 16 is good. We do 16.
Okay.
So 16 for consensus for number 3.
Yes.
Number 4, effect the firm's recent, current, and projected workload.
The availability looks great. I don't know, so the key staff and the current commitment, like those two charts don't really line up for me. I'm not sure.
That's what I was thinking the same. The chart looks like they have a lot of availability,
Yeah.
But then,
and the little table doesn't.
And
It's
then-
a bit confusing.
Yeah, I think one is the whole team and one is key staff.
Yeah.
But
oh, okay.
I think the key staff is a very important piece of it.
Yes.
And they did include some of the subs in the key staff versions.
Yeah, which is. And you mentioned they have a depth of resources.
So they mentioned they have a depth of resources?
Yes.
Okay.
On page 40.
Right back up to emergencies, okay.
Yeah.
I missed that in my first review, so I'm gonna have to come up a little bit.
I have a 12.
I do too.
I also have 12, but I'm gonna come up to 13.
Okay.
So- I owe them that, I missed that piece.
So, should I go up to 13 or 12?
No, we can stay at 12, but
12,
I,
Your
You-
individual.
I'm
Right,
going
yours
to,
up a bit.
yeah.
Okay.
So 12.
Okay, so the consensus is 12 for number 4 for HDR. And for number 5, Amanda, effective project team location.
And so they have a couple subs from Orlando, which is not the local regional partnership area, so 4.
4. Okay, moving on to HNTV.
I did like how they broke out their key team leads, what tasks they'll be working on.
Yeah.
And the description related to the scope. We discuss their subs as well. What services they'll be providing.
So yeah, I think they did a really good job with the staff breakdown and responsibilities and what they bring to the table, plans, and then also supplemental services where next they had some additional services.
I would have liked to see, they talk about the work order managers, I'd like to see them a little bit better identified. In Orchard, there was a little bit of a typo on one of the descriptions that talked about the safe mobility for life grant. I think it's safe mobility. I mean, it could be safe mobility for life, but I thought that was an interesting choice. I think that was a Safe Streets for All grant. I would have liked to see a couple of their resumes more closely in line with the positions that they're in. But I thought overall, they did like a very comprehensive breakdown.
Give them a 25.
28.
I gave them a 24.
Give it a 25.
That's fine with me.
25, 28,
And
24.
25 is good.
So 25 for number 1 for HNTV. Number 2, firms experience with projects of similar type and size.
Did list a lot of general service contracts. Included the costs of the contracts, but I would have liked to see more detail in the projects described within these contracts. They just kind of give a list of projects.
I agree. And where they do talk about innovations and challenges, it's mentioned here or there, but it's not at a level that I would have liked to see a little more about.
They do mention other types of services as well besides typical road design projects.
Yeah.
Which is good. Overall, I think they had a good, they were all relevant.
Yeah.
They do have some big projects.
Yeah.
I was a little concerned that a lot of them are still ongoing. But I mean, they did provide really great examples of different kinds. And I always like it when they throw something in there like the design review.
Yeah.
Project.
Something a little bit, shows range.
Yes. I thought that was nice.
At a 25.
I Okay, the 21.
I have a sorry, just 1 second. Is not mentioning. Oh, I'm on the wrong tab. 25.
25, 21, I can go to 25, then check me, 25.
25 for number 2, HNTV. And number 3, firm's willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements.
Looks like they covered all their topics and have a good understanding. And they did include some cost savings to be considered.
They talked about QA/QC, which I thought was good to see highlighted.
A little chartition.
Yeah. I did kind of highlight the idea that they have work order managers and discipline leaders. I thought it might be helpful to see a little bit more about that. I like the idea of it, I just would like to see a little more of how it works.
I thought this was good, and they mentioned the cost savings, so. Yeah, I thought it was very thorough, and that little chart for it as well. It's nice.
I'm having 18.
I have a 15.
I have an 18.
What did you have?
18, and you have an 18?
I have an 18.
I can go up to an 18.
18.
18 for number 3. Okay, and then number 4, affect firm's recent, current, and projected workload.
We did not include their subs in the chart. I did mention the additional team resources they have.
Thank you.
Resources. They seem to have a good amount of availability for the most part.
It was interesting how they showed some of where their team is committed.
Yeah, I really like the chart. Yes. This is the first time I've seen someone post one of the key team members was having that 5% availability.
Yeah. Of course, the 95 is with,
Miscellaneous professional engineering services.
and there's also someone with 100% availability.
Yes.
They're both unusual.
Yeah, both are unusual. It's like this person's only available 5%, but this one completely, absolutely nothing's going on.
I should just see that person.
Stephanie Workman.
Oh, okay, no, I see. Okay, yeah, she's mostly on our side. Just assisting us.
Yeah, when I read it, I was like, well, that makes sense. Like,
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that two of the people assisting us, and one is 5 and one is 100.
oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Mark
Because
still
it's Mark still also.
That assignment ended.
Okay, so that makes sense then.
Okay. Well, that just gives me more faith in the credibility of this chart here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of our scheduling helpers.
I gave them a 12.
12.
I gave them a 15.
Well, then what's 15, 12?
So 12 for number 4, HNTB.
Yes.
All right, Amanda, for 5.
We have a 5. All private subs are all within the regional partnership area.
5,
Yes.
okay. Excellent. All right, our next firm is Jacobs.
Clear understanding of the scope.
I did not see anyone responsible for QAQC in the chart.
Sure, we do not have that. Thought they had a good write-up. Did have multiple surveyors. Write a description of the subs and work to do. Like Kelly gave the little overview of the key personnel and what the relevant experiences is related to the contract.
They have a table.
I like that little table.
Yeah, the table.
It showed all the items related to scope of services and showed experience of each one. That was a nice little table. And it did a good write-up and understanding of the scope. He broke out all the different sections and gave a good description of each one.
Yeah. I was trying to find out, like, figure out who some of the things they had names for, like, they had key team members, but in some sections, they had resumes for like 2 key team members. I was trying to get a sense of if they had somebody like responsible, or if they just had a team approach.
Like Roadway has 2,
Yeah.
it's possible like maybe both for team leaders, depending on.
Yeah, I just would like to see that kind of
Yeah.
tied in. I thought
Yeah,
they had.
mention of it.
Yeah, I thought they had a lot of pieces. There was concern with QAQC not being there and some of that confusion. I think it had some good pieces and some things that had left me with some questions.
What was your score?
19.
Yeah, I gave them a 26.
I'm at 23.
They didn't have like detailed resumes. But I saw enough as they were hanging out
The
somewhere else.
resumes were somewhere else. They were in the back of the resumes.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, there
yeah,
they
and I
are.
wrote that.
Yeah.
Yeah, resumes were all the end.
All the way at the end.
Yeah.
And they didn't include the subs resumes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I gave it 23.
Okay.
So it's 23 or what?
26.
26,
19.
19.
You know, but I gave them a 26 because their summary of the resumes, it's almost like they provided like a little summary based on relevant experience. That was pretty good, so. So 23, you said that you were a
19.
19,
You were what?
26.
26.
Okay, 23.
23, 24, 25.
24.
Okay, that's nice.
So 24 for number 1, Jacobs. Number 2, firms experienced with projects of similar type and size.
So I did like they mentioned challenges and how they were addressed, and also showed some innovative solutions.
I had that one as well.
I think all projects were relevant.
One
Two were over the 5 years,
So two,
that was,
okay.
yeah. And they're missing the cost. Overall, it was pretty good.
Yeah. I was trying to look at some of the PM's experience and the likes that called out way for.
So I had in my notes that I had 8 relevant examples, and I guess it was because 2 of them were not, they were outside of that 5 years, so they provided 10, but only 8 will work. Okay. What they provided was good.
I had a 23.
17.
28. But I'm willing to come down.
What was yours again?
23.
3. I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with 23.
23 for consensus.
Yes.
Number 2, Number 3, firm's willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements.
I feel like they have a good understanding and they seem to cover all the topics, including quality control. Some strategies to implement to control project costs.
The plan, do, check, and act.
Yeah.
Nice. I don't see cost savings. Anyone else see that?
I think that's maybe under cost control. Just that y'all control the cost.
Yeah. Which is a part of managing the budget. So, would we count it as cost savings? What do you think?
Maybe they could have elaborated a little bit
Yeah,
on
they could have.
the cost savings and how they've done that in the past, maybe.
I agree. I like the recognition in here that if you kind of have a good quality control, you don't have to redo stuff. Well, insurance, I thought that tie-in was valuable, the idea of like making sure you're sending us something that's good before it gets to us. It's a good recognition.
They were also one of the few that mentioned minimizing change orders.
Yeah.
Oh, that was nice.
Talk about our communication.
Agree. I think overall it's pretty good. So I had a 17.
I had a 16.
And I had 15, so 16?
Yes.
16 is a consensus for number 3
Yes.
for Jacobs, okay. Number 4, effect of firm's recent, current, and projected workload.
Did not show their subs, just that availability. Their chart was easy to follow. Which is that average availability. Mid-range.
Yeah, the personnel are very closely aligned. Very much available.
I like the write-up. I thought it was very easy to understand.
Yeah, I think they're pretty thorough, very, yeah. Have a good description here of their availability, their commitment, resources. Just missed the subs in their chart.
I missed the steps, but they did provide a backup of a large pool of firm-wide resources who are available to provide services to the county.
Yeah.
Really, but I think it works.
So do you guys give them, I gave it 12.
I did too.
I can go with 12. I gave him a 15.
12 it is.
Okay, 12 for number 4 for Jacobs. And then number 5, Amanda.
Number 5 is A5, the prime and all the subs are in the regional partnership area.
Okay. All right, excuse me. The next firm is JMT. JMT.
I do like how they work out like 4 project teams, all 4 teams being internal. They have multiple surveys too. I think that they did a really good write up here. Describe all their key personnel, the relevant experience related to the scope.
I love the personnel summaries. I think they're really relevant to the scope.
And very easy to understand. Um,
Yeah, I like how they added that little
Chart.
chart on the
On the
side.
side,
showed
yeah,
which
it's very
scope area.
clear.
Yeah, it's very,
Yeah.
very clear. Who's doing what.
They talked about things like context of Complete Streets Guide and understanding, well, not exactly, I think, but they talked about Plan Hillsborough, which is the planning commission or the comprehensive plan and the LRTP. So they didn't quite get it exactly how I would have phrased it, but I think the idea of it is good. And I think it was pretty close.
I think this is another good example of merging the goals of the county with what they can offer. I think they did that in multiple places. Understanding the approach to the project was a good.
Clear understanding of the project, they did like step by step, each step of the
Yeah,
project process.
yeah, that was good.
So I have that. $28.
I gave them 30.
I gave them a 24. I can go up.
28.
28 is fine.
28 is fine.
Sure.
Okay, 28 for number 1, JMT. All right, number 2, firms experienced with projects of similar type and size.
This would be what they included everything in gas. Every single one, they added a little section on the bottom showing how they overcome some challenges, the innovation, the cost.
Yeah.
I think all the projects are relevant. Some of their general services, they broke out some of the projects and gave some descriptions of what was done. So overall, I think it was really good. Oh,
Yes, so this was another one that had a lot of ongoing services, but the breakdown underneath, like the description and everything, that helped me better understand why they're ongoing and like the details behind the project. So I thought they did an excellent job.
I did kind of question, I like how they have the challenges and innovations at the bottom, but some of the challenges, like one of them, the challenge to overcome was in-house services needed. I didn't quite see how that was a challenge. But I appreciate them kind of putting it together that way.
Scores. I had to do on 30.
I did too.
I gave them a 19. I will go up.
30, 30 to 19.
Yeah.
30 and 19.
Would you like a 29, 28? I have trouble seeing how it's an exact 30, but I'm willing to do somewhere in that category range.
28.
Okay with that.
Okay.
Okay.
So 28 for number 2, JMT.
Yes.
Okay. Number 3, firm's willingness and ability to meet schedule and budget requirements.
I like how they provided examples of cases where they were able to deliver projects earlier than expected, showed some unique issues and how they were addressed, and some innovative approaches, and they showed some cost savings. Very good writing.
I like how they talked about relationships with subs. I think that's an important recognition. And the idea of like technology and innovation.
The examples were amazing, so I really liked them.
I'll make this section off. They did a great job here. They gave them 20.
I also gave them a 20.
I give them a 17. 19? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, 19.
19 and 19 for number 3. Number 4, effect of firm's recent, current, and projected workload.
This showed a lot of high availability. But I like how they broke out like the teams, the availability of the 4 teams they put together. And they showed the support services.
The legends, so it's easy to follow.
Yes.
It's very, very easy to follow. Yes.
Let's talk about backups. I think. Backup staffing, very about it.
Like how they have 4 different survey teams, which they now understand that survey could be a critical path to schedule. It's always nice to have that backup. Wish they had backup on different like surveying, city, right? Overall, it was a good writing. I have 15.
Me too. This is the only group for me that got a perfect score,
Yeah.
so.
I think it was a great
13.
proposal.
That's pretty good.
But I'm willing to go to 15 if you guys want to.
She said 13.
I have a
Sarah?
13.
Okay, and y'all gonna go to 15?
15,
That's
yeah.
fine.
15 for consensus for number 4. And then Amanda,
It's a 5.
it's a
Prime and all
5.
subs, yeah. Prime and all subs are within mutual partnership area. 5.
Okay, we are at 12 o'clock, 30 seconds from 12 o'clock. So we could break for lunch, or we could go ahead and finish the last 4. Or we can break for lunch and cut it to like maybe a 30-minute lunch versus an hour, and come back and just finish everything else.
I'm either okay with the 30-minute or no lunch. So what do you both think?
I'm good with continuing
Okay.
also, if you would like, longer of the week.
I'm
There's only 4
okay
left, so it's not
continuing.
too
Okay.
bad.
I would say I'd rather I think, continue, then take like a 30-minute break.
Okay.
Okay. So everyone online, we're not going to take the hour lunch since we are ahead of time. We're gonna go ahead and finish